hoping to be saying good morning, but unfortunately things haven't quite gone to plan today. I had a fantastic trip planned up to a lovely remote location. The spot that I was going to did not require me to have a tent, and it did not require me to have an insulated, comfortable camping mat. I'm heading out without those today because I thought I can either go home or I can adapt my plans. And equally as important as the preparation you put into your trips is the willingness to compromise and to change your plans if things become potentially unsafe. And that's the situation I found myself in this morning. I'll tell you all about it later on once we're at camp, but needless to say, I'm on mission plan B. And mission plan B is not going to be as comfortable as plan A, but I have a feeling it could be a lot more exciting and a lot more adventurous, because that's the great thing. When things don't go the way you're planning in the outdoors, there's usually a whole lot of adventure involved. For now, I better get going because it is now mid-afternoon and I've got about 3 hours of walking to get to our spot. It might be uncomfortable, but I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm intending it to be. Might as well go out there and enjoy ourselves, eh? There you go. It doesn't always rain in New Zealand. I wanted something a little bit different. I don't want you guys thinking I only ever go out in the rain and snow. I just love the challenge of it, and I love the fact that not many people are out in it. But it's a random, what is it? Wednesday. Random Wednesday. So only 2 cars in the car park. So we might pass someone. There won't be anyone where we're going though, because I don't go places where other people go. I like to find secret spots. Can't go under it. Gotta go over it. There. Whoa. Gosh, there's just trees down everywhere through here. The force of nature is amazing. Right, we're getting close. I've just consulted my maps and we're about 3/4 of the way there. Well, this is the spot that I was thinking of, but I've just been for a bit of an explore, because even though it's nice to go back to a place you know, it's also nice to try something a bit different. And there is quite a lot of noise from the river, so come with me. I've found something else and I'm pretty tempted to camp down there. I found this lovely clearing with this beautiful, what would you call it, like a babbling brook. In fact, it branches off, and all through this clearing there's these little brooks, streams that are flowing, and they're just beautiful with the lovely grasses and weeds, I suppose. Pretty little grasses and things in the rivers. I'm loving the fact that I've got the last of the sun. The only thing here is the ground's pretty firm. That's because it's dry in this area, so that's a bonus. And I haven't got my air mat with me, so I'm just trying to think, do I want soft and spongy if it's going to be damp, which will be cold? No, I probably don't. Probably better off having dry and firm ground. Alright, I'm going to go and get everything out of my pack and show you what I've got with me today. Drink bottle, PLB, personal locator beacon, paracord bracelet, car keys, toiletry bag, mushrooms, dinner, toilet tissue, the rest of dinner, first aid kit, raincoat, pan. Oh yeah. I'm going to enjoy that soon. Water containers, sharp knife, knife, fork, spoon, a bit more food. I've got a saw, a bunch of clothes, got my cooking pot, cooking stove and fire lighting equipment, a sleeping bag liner, rain tarp, pegs for the rain tarp, gas canister, towel, warm down puffer jacket, and right at the bottom is my sleeping bag. And what I think I'll do is I'm going to take this bag that I use to keep my clothing and sleeping bag dry in my pack, and I'm going to cut it here and here and make a little ground sheet. I've got the sides of the tarp up nice and high because I want to allow lots of light in, because being black this is very dark. But I won't keep them up at night. I will peg them down into an A-frame. So I'll put my bed in the middle so that it's where it needs to be later on. Hehe. I was thinking I might go and collect some grasses or leaves or something to insulate me underneath my little makeshift ground sheet, but I'll see what I think once I'm set up. What's probably going to be a better idea is, in my first aid kit I have a foil blanket. It's gold side out to stop the cold coming in, and silver side towards you to trap the heat. glad I bought my winter sleeping bag, because I was thinking I might bring my summer one because it's spring and I was intending originally to be sleeping in that bivvy. I'm so glad I've got this one. In New Zealand, when it comes to firewood, and this probably applies to a lot of places, there is nothing so exciting and satisfying as finding a big branch that has split off a tree but not landed on the ground. Stays up in the branches, dead, and dries out up there. As soon as the wood touches the ground in New Zealand, it starts to rot. It takes on water. Our ground is really wet all year round. That is very satisfying. Plenty of firewood here and lots of kindling. I'm roughly trying to lay some sticks this way and then this way, roughly, and then a bit of really nice dry kindling in between them. That'll just make sure that there's enough air to get up and under, because I've got this probably corrugated iron. Still got the iron around it. It has got a couple of holes in to let air in, but well, that was probably just from people taking shots at it. But it will let a tiny bit of air in, but not as much as the firewood normally gets. So I'm just going to try and set it up in such a way that the air can get up and under. What I need is one of those rocks from over there to sit on. I'm going to go and get myself a seat. That's what I need.
didn't have time for a cup of tea earlier. I just made myself a rooibos chai. Which just is rooibos tea with spices. It's really nice. So nice. So one thing I forget to do is to drink enough. I get really busy. So good. The wind has died off. I knew it was going to lessen overnight, but I wasn't expecting it to be this calm. So that's really good. It's probably just because we're in a little bit of a protected area with trees around us. What is that? Oh, stuck it. So I better tell you about what happened this morning. I told you I'd tell you later on. Okay, so the trip that I had planned was to a little mountain bivvy, and a bivvy is short for bivouac, and in New Zealand we have these little basic shelters that literally, you know, 4 walls, a floor, a roof, a couple of beds and maybe a little stainless steel bench for you to cook on. And I was heading to one of these. That was my plan A. Now the reason I decided to go, can you guys see me, or is my head getting cut off? It's really hard to tell because it's so dark. Oh, I might just adjust the camera slightly. Oh yeah. Much better, much better. I think you can see me a bit better now. Yep, so that'd be my plan. And the reason I haven't done that trip before is because I usually go out when it's raining. You know me, I love camping in the rain and in the snow, but this particular trip needs good weather because there are multiple river crossings, and the first river that you cross is quite wide and can get quite swift and has a really big catchment area, so that one's quite tricky to cross. And then further up the valley narrows into a bit of a gorge, and because it's really narrow you've got to navigate through the river that's coming down through that valley, and it's literally, you know, literally only, I don't know, 20 meters across. So the power of the water can get quite strong if it's up even a little bit. So it hasn't been raining in this area for a couple of days, and I thought, oh yeah, that's pretty good. There was only drizzle forecast for overnight, and I thought it would be okay. But what I knew but hadn't fully appreciated the extent of is the spring snowmelt. So along with a little bit of warm rain a couple of days ago, and yeah, that has melted the spring snow, and that is all obviously soaked into the ground, and all of that is coming down the rivers at the moment. And that means rivers, even on a nice day like today, are quite high. So I headed out this morning. It was late morning, but I headed out and tried to cross the first river. And the rule, it's like, you know, one of those, it's not a rule, but it's one of those tramping rules. So tramping in New Zealand is hiking. So one of the tramping rules is if you can't cross, or it's difficult to cross the first river on your trip, you should turn back. If you know you've got more rivers to cross and the first one is challenging, don't keep going. It's like a rule of thumb that you should just live by, because if the first river is challenging, you can bet as you get further up the valley there's going to be more challenging situations that come along, and you're going to be a whole lot further into your trip, which is going to make it, I don't know, psychologically a little bit harder possibly to turn around. I got to the first river, tried to cross where I usually cross because I know this area really well, and got about a quarter of the way through, and it was right up to halfway up my shorts, so top of my thighs, quarter of the way in. I boarded that. I tried to go back and cross in a slightly different spot where it was sort of divided into 3 bits, like crossed across to sort of a rocky island, then tried to cross the main channel and then go across the last bit. The main channel, it was just too swift. The problem is, normally in that river I can see to the bottom all the time, the whole way across. I couldn't see the bottom of the river. I couldn't see the rocks underneath me, and that made it dangerous. It was very swift, and I didn't fancy getting washed down. I wouldn't have necessarily gone that far. It wasn't like, you know, it's not like super deep, not like whitewater rafting type of river. Would have been okay, but I would have hurt myself and I would have wet everything. So I did have my stuff in dry bags and whatnot, just in case I slipped into one of the rivers on the trip that I was going on. Oh no, lost my tea bag. But all the same, I didn't really fancy a fall into the river. So I hightailed it back to the car, and the funny thing was, there was an OENZ, which is Outdoor Education New Zealand, a big Outdoor Education New Zealand group, like I'm talking 50 people probably, who were in the car park area, like in the grassy flats of where I parked my car, and obviously they were learning all about outdoor education, and it looked like they were doing river safety, what do you call it, like emergency procedures. So they had someone lying on the ground and another person throwing this like throw rope to them, and it looked really fun, whatever they were doing. And so the irony was, here I was heading out solo on a trip while there was 50 people learning about river safety and river crossing. I got to the river and thought, there are people there who've taken the time to learn about river safety. How dumb would I be to cross the river now and then have a search party come along, or like me sort of drag myself back up to the car park all wet in front of this group? What an educational story that would be. So anyway, I backtracked, hopped in the car and drove off. And chances are, you know, one of the instructors might have seen me and said, oh, I have a feeling she saw how high the river was and made the right decision. So there you go. I didn't feel safe. When I said earlier on I tried to head off on my original trip and I just didn't feel safe. That's what I mean. I didn't feel safe. And now here we are. We're so lucky in New Zealand that we don't have wild animals like predators to worry about, so I can just eat this quite happily without worrying that a bear or a lion or a baboon or anything is going to come out of the bushes. So I've pegged the tarp down into a simple A-frame, except for this corner here, just so I can see out and enjoy the last bit of the fire. I might peg it down when I go to sleep. Can you hear that? That's our native owl. Moko. Ruru. Right, I have got a podcast that I'm listening to. I'm going to drink my hot chocolate and head off to bed. Well, I survived. I survived my night on the ground. It actually wasn't that bad. I won't lie and say it was comfortable. Okay, almost done.
The last two things to do after I've put away the tarp is to dismantle the fireplace and cover it over with some moss. Woo. I'll return the iron to where I found it, and then it's time to go. And I am contemplating going off track and bush bashing up through the trees to see if I can get to the track. I'll have a look at the topographical map, but I have a feeling the track crosses just up there, and if I'm right, it could be a good shortcut. It also could be a bad shortcut, so I'll just have to see what I think. I should be rolling up all these guy lines now so they don't cause me hassles when I put my tarp on the washing line, but in all honesty I'm just time poor, so I'll do it when I get home. I don't even think I'm going to need a raincoat for my walk out. It's barely raining. I'm back on the iPhone. Okay, I'm just going to give this one shot. Look how beautiful that is, so clear. I'm going to give this one shot, and if it's too hard, I'm heading back to the track. So there's quite a lip over there. It looks a little bit less steep over there. Right, let's go. There we are. You can see where we were right down there. It was a bit of a scramble, but I made it. So we're just gonna find our way through these trees, and by my estimations, we should find the track. Ah ha ha ha! What do I see? There we are. Brilliant. Yay. Fantastic. That little climb up that hill probably saved me 10 minutes, which I really need, because to make it out in time for my commitment in town, I need to walk out in 2 hours and 15 minutes rather than the 3 hours that it took me to walk in. I think it's achievable, because I won't be stopping to film or take breaks. So goodbye everybody, thanks so much for coming along. Consensus on staying out overnight without a tent or air mattress. If you're carrying an emergency shelter, just make sure that it has some kind of way to create a floor, because chances are in an emergency situation you may be in adverse conditions and not wanting to sleep straight on the ground. So either a rain tarp with multiple tie down points that you can peg down to the ground, or perhaps carry a really small little piece of waterproofing, a bit like my sleeping bag. Sorry, my pack liner that I used. Okay, don't forget your emergency foil blanket in your first aid kit. Fantastic for staying warm. If you're ever hypothermic, at risk of hypothermia, wrap yourself in it. So lightweight, such a great asset on a trip. You can even rig it up probably to keep you out of the rain. To everybody who supports the channel, thank you so much. Thank you so much to
my Buy Me a Coffee members and my channel members, and to my donors on Buy Me a Coffee and YouTube Super Thanks. Thank you so much for watching the video, clicking the like button, subscribing. If you're not subscribed, maybe think about doing that so that you know when the next video comes out. We will make it up to that bivvy that I was planning to go to yesterday. That's on the cards when the weather dries up a bit. But there's also going to be plenty of warm summer rain camping. Looking forward to it, you guys. Take care. Bye for now.